Welcome to the Essence of Ram Dass's YouTube channel. Here you will find short videos that each explore just one of his well-known quotes or key spiritual lessons. Today we are discussing his teachings around bearing the unbearable. I have included a letter to Rachel, a short letter he wrote many years ago to the parents of a young girl, Rachel, who died suddenly and tragically. That letter is just 4 concise, profound paragraphs, but they continue to speak healing words of higher truth directly to the broken hearts of many, many parents who are bereaved by the loss of a child. The universe is made up of experiences that are designed to burn out your attachment, your clinging to pleasure, to pain, to fear, to all of it. Everything about our human existence is transitory. Thich Nhat Hanh said that it is not impermanence that causes suffering. It is our wanting things to be permanent when they are not. I often remind myself to embrace the impermanence of everything. And yet there are times in every person's life when the loss they suffer is so huge and so unexpected that it just rocks their world to the core. Then life becomes a struggle to find a way to bear the unbearable. Who you think you are will always be frightened by change, but it doesn't make any difference to who you truly are. Ram Dass. Grief is the mind's attempt to deal with the breakdown of expectations. It is not what happens to me in life that causes me to be happy or sad. It is my thinking about what happens to me that makes that difference. My suffering or happiness is created through my relationship to my experience, not by the experience itself. However, when tragedy strikes and my personal life falls apart for a time, I am not going to be able to change my thinking in an instant. I am human, therefore I have attachments. I love to love deeply and passionately whenever possible. That will always make me vulnerable. And so it is. In order to relieve or minimize my suffering, it is my model of how the world works that has to change. If the universe has shifted, if it is proven to me that the model I was using is no longer valid or useful, then my choice is to let it go or to continue to suffer. The knowledge of that gives me increased agency in adapting whenever my world has been rocked to the core. As this page from the book Be Here Now suggests, I can either surf through it all or I can carry it around like a heavy load. Knowing that it is on me to change my expectations about how the world is unfolding, no matter how reasonable those expectations were, keeps me from engaging in any despondent victim mentality thinking, no matter how terrible the loss. It helps me to keep in mind that life's beauty is inseparable from its fragility.
Because it is very clear to me that the shadow is the greatest teacher of how to come to the light. I don't ask for suffering, but when it comes along, it certainly turns out to be grace. Even though I'm begrudging it all the time, it's there. I mean, you and I live in a world where it is hard to keep your heart fully open. Because it hurts so bad. Because there's so much suffering everywhere. But I would tell you, you can't afford to close it.
Again, in his own words.
And so when it becomes unbearable, then the choice you have when something becomes unbearable is to protect yourself from it because it's unbearable, or to change who it is that thinks it's unbearable. I recommend this latter course. If you can't bear it, bear it. You'll find a whole new interesting part of your being, somebody who bears the unbearable. And until we can bear the unbearable, we are really frightened of suffering, of death, of all of it.
These next 3 photos are quotes that help us understand what it means to bear the unbearable. The work of the mature person is to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to be stretched large by them. How much sorrow can I hold? That's how much gratitude I can give. If I only carry grief, I'll bend towards cynicism and despair. If I only have gratitude, I'll become saccharine and won't develop much compassion for other people's suffering. Grief keeps the heart fluid and soft, which makes compassion possible. Grief, I have learned, is really just love. It is all the love you want to give, but cannot. All of that unspent love gathers in the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, in the hollow part of your chest. Grief is just love with no place to go. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing that your life depends on it, and, when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. For these next 4 photos, I'm going to read 1 paragraph each from the letter to Rachel that Ram Dass wrote. The loss of a child is one of the most seemingly unbearable of all burdens possible. In this brief, compassionate, heartfelt letter, Ram Dass shares his intuitive, deep spiritual wisdom about loss and suffering in a way that makes fathomable the unfathomable. He wrote, Dear Steve and Anita, Rachel finished her work on Earth and left the stage in a manner that leaves those of us left behind with a cry of agony in our hearts, as the fragile thread of our faith is dealt with so violently. Is anyone strong enough to stay conscious through such teaching as you are receiving? Probably very few. And even they would have only a whisper of equanimity and peace amidst the screaming trumpets of their rage, grief, horror, and dissolution. I can't assuage your pain with words, nor should I, for your pain is Rachel's legacy to you. Not that she or I would inflict such pain by choice, but there it is. It must burn its purifying way to completion. For something in you dies when you bear the unbearable, and it is only in that dark night of the soul that you are prepared to see as God sees and to love as God loves. Now is the time to let your grief find expression, no false strength. Now is the time to sit quietly and speak to Rachel and thank her for being with you these few years, and encourage her to go on with whatever her work is, knowing that you will grow in compassion and wisdom from this experience. In my heart, I know you and she will meet again and again, and recognize the many ways in which you have known each other. And when you meet, you will know in a flash what is now not given to you to know, why this had to be the way it was. Our rational minds can never understand what has happened, but our hearts, if we can keep them open to God, will find their own intuitive way. Rachel came through you to do her work on earth, which includes her manner of death. Now her soul is free, and the love that you can share with her is invulnerable to the winds of changing time and space. In that deep love, include me. In love, Ram Dass. Healing does not mean going back to the way things were before, but rather allowing what is now to move us closer to God. Do you have a magic spell to return someone to life? She said. No, the witch said. I'm sorry. Oh. Why don't you tell me about them? Will that bring them back? For us, for a little while. Stories are a different kind of magic. Grief never ends. but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness, nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love. If you know anyone who has suffered the loss of a child, please share this video with them. The letter to Rachel is fairly well known amongst followers of Ram Dass, but there are countless bereaved parents who could benefit greatly if they knew of it. If you like this video, if you appreciate what I'm trying to do with this YouTube channel, please subscribe and share about it on social media. There is information in the description of this video on how to support my efforts. Any such support would be greatly appreciated. Love is my religion. Nature is my temple. Compassion is my teacher. Kindness is my practice. Awakening self is my passion. Family is my heart. Earth is my home. Peace, love, and may the force be with you.